Hi YouTube. In this video, let me take you on a tour of the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The museum is located off the intersection of 6th and Canal Street, and there's plenty of parking available and free parking too. The tickets here usually range about $22 for adults, and you might get a discount for seniors or kids. As you can see, the bikes are really cool. All kinds of bikes. There are various sections. Here we can see some really vintage bikes. This one from 1939. This collection is really very comprehensive, obviously. I think this is the only museum for Harley-Davidson that exists around the world. This one is from 1942. It's a twin engine. Obviously, bikes were used in all kinds of applications, ranging from the postal office or the postal service to military, police services. Here's an example of a old police motorcycle, which could carry all kinds of stuff. This one is more racer inspired. And this one is for delivery services as a sidecar. Now these motorcycles now are from 1942, from the World War II era. Used by the US military, or the US Army, I think. Really cool looking gun holders up top. And the tires were really cool too. US Army motorcycle, 1942. And this is the 1942
This
US Navy.
particular motorcycle is for shore patrol or the Coast Guard with the sidecar. And if you notice, there's a rifle in the sidecar too.
And this
one I believe is
the US Army motorcycle.
for the US Army or the Marines. Obviously from the same era. From 1945 or 42. This is some of the equipment that came with the motorcycle, used by the defense personnel. Now this one is from 1923. It's also a V-twin. And it's really cool looking gas tank on it. It's obviously was used for racing purposes. This section of the museum actually carries some of their vintage racing motorcycles. Love the display. Motorcycles, staged as if they are on a racetrack. From as early as the 1920s. I think this motorcycle was setting a speed record of some sort back in the day. I believe this is on the Salt Flats. This is some of the apparel used by racers of the time, along with some of the other equipment. It's really interesting to see, all the vintage posters as well. This was yet another really cool display to see all the motorcycles with the chains, obviously to give it more traction on snowy conditions, for example. Love this display. It's the various gas tanks and the paint job on them. Fantastic display. This is from, that was a level 1 actually, or the top floor of the museum where you enter. This section right here, is sort of artwork showing the love for motorcycles in families, particularly in Hispanic families. I'm not sure if it is Mexican or what, but you could see a lot of references to Hispanic culture. Just shows the emotional bond that many families and individuals have, or people who are attached to their motorcycles, and how it kind of creates a subculture within their communities or their families. Motorcycles are obviously not just a tool for transport to A to B. It really evokes emotion and gives you that sense of freedom that people talk about. Really cute. Very cute presentation. It's actually a good museum for young kids to come to as well. Especially young boys or girls, who are interested in cars or motorcycles. Now, this part of the museum, is at the lower level of the museum, and shows you some of their newer bikes, actually. So the previous bikes that we saw were from the pre-World War or the World War era, and this is a little bit later, so maybe 20, 30 years later. Some of the museum's collection from that era. So this is an early 80s motorcycle. Almost looks like a police motorcycle actually, but I'm not sure if it is. Again, a race-inspired motorcycle. Quite impractical in my opinion, but looks really cool. It's called Chrome Horse.
Check this tire out.
That tire at the rear end is
Motorcycle.
really fat.
Do you see that?
When you see that up close
Pretty cool.
or in person.
But that one is huge. And look at it.
Freddie Franklin.
My son, who was with me while I went on a visit to this museum, called this particular motorcycle the King's motorcycle because it was so ornate.
I bet it
3 headlights. And of course, if there's a King's motorcycle, there has to be a Queen's motorcycle, I suppose.
Is it Queen of bikes?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They call
You really do feel like a king or a queen riding these machines.
I see. Says Mama tried.
Says Mama tried.
You can see the intricate work that went into producing this machine. All the lights at the rear end. And I particularly liked
And look at his topper. It's
the
like
claw
an eagle.
at the bottom there.
Is that cool?
Yeah. It's like It's an eagle.
That is sweet.
This one looks like straight out of some kind of a sci-fi movie. Shiny Kimura. Something like an Indiana Jones motorcycle. It's really interesting to see these bikes up close and the personality each one of them has. This is some of the collection of displays that Harley has. And this was a fun little section to build a bike where you can put together a concept bike for yourself. This section here that we are in right now shows a more modern era 2003 sidecar motorcycle. I don't know if this is a Fat Boy, could be. Real good padding. Those were like handwritten notes or signature or something on the motorcycle all over. So these are patches used by some of the motorcycle groups around the world. And this particular motorcycle is actually something that was retrieved from a shipping container that drowned in the sea, apparently, or something like that. These motorcycles are inspired for adventure, I guess. That's a race-inspired motorcycle.
Okay. You gotta stop making videos. These are
Number 1 Harley-Davidson. That's an iconic sign Harley produced several years ago, and it's still carried through the day, and is used quite a bit by motorcycle enthusiasts, particularly with Harleys.
Papa! Come on, Papa.
We are leaving. We are leaving.
Yes.
These motorcycles are at the lowest level, I believe. And at the time when I was visiting the museum, it talked about this event that took place. I think it's the name of an event, Mama Tried. You can correct me in the comments below. A really cool looking sidecar. I don't think I've ever seen a sidecar like that before. You probably have to just lie down in that. Not sure where you sit there. This is another interesting motorcycle with pretty much a flat seat.
The reason that shows like Mama Tried are so important.
That's another really fun thing to do if you own a motorcycle, to customize it and make it your very own. And Harley has a big, culture around that. I think most Harley buyers tend to not keep it stock, maybe add their own color, their own fingerprints on the motorcycle in terms of design. This is quite a mix of the collection that Harley has from the after war era, after World War II. It really is a mix of many styles. This one is from 1971. The paint job on some of these
Sorry?
motorcycles is really,
Not
really
yet,
sweet.
not yet.
It's almost a piece of art, you know, when you think about it. If you like the video, please do subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and I'll see you in the next one.